Oh, should I restart?
No. So this is what we're going to be doing today, is actually rebuilding the cotton and the coil for the Rebirth RDA. And I know a lot of people actually do have trouble rebuilding them. And there's a lot of vape shops that actually won't do it. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to take a pair of tweezers that you have. You'll also need to peel out the cotton very carefully. Make sure your mod is not hot, for one, because what that'll do is it'll actually burn you. And if you have the Rebirth, what it'll have is usually the tools for it. And usually the tools you'll need is, it has, so what it's called is a coil sizer, and that's what you'll need for one. For two, you'll need a coil, because the Rebirth RDA does not come with a coil. Okay. Don't be making fun of me, dude. Seriously. Okay, and with these, you always want to unscrew them just a little bit, just to loosen the coil, so you're not sitting there trying to fight with the coil non-stop. And there are different ways on the coils that you'll have to turn them. Like the Rebirths, they already come with the screws in them. You'll just have to loosen up the screws and take out the coil. So, this is one of the old coils. This is what it looks like.
Put it up closer. You can hardly see it.
So, that is the old coil right there. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to size the coil, and you'll need to tighten it just to see if it'll stay in. And one thing is if it has a lot of tension in it, it will not stay in. And there's a lot of times that if the coil is too long, too small, too short, it will not work. And there are times that you'll need a lot of things called cotton bacon. So what it does, that's what it's called, is cotton bacon. You can actually get it down in a vape store. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to twist up the cotton, and then you'll have to squeeze it through that little tiny coil hole. That's what the coil hole looks like. And I'm actually using it in S-Proof right now to get it rebuilt. That is one thing that you'll have trouble with sometimes, is also getting the cotton to go through completely. And if it does, without any problems, you'll need to stretch it, push it down to get it to go in, and you'll need to space it. So that way it'll actually stay in there and get it to where it won't get stuck in your coil. And yes, you will have a lot of times, you will have a lot of excess juice in your RDA, and that's one thing you want to be careful with, is if you have excess juice in your RDA in the tip of it or in the tank part, you can actually have your RDA catch on fire and your mod will actually blow up completely. I've actually had that experience once, and that was the most shocking experience I've had. So one thing is that's what it looks like with partial cotton. I also have what they call a Vupu drag with a Cleto 120 Pro. So what I'm actually doing is I'm taking out my batteries very carefully, which these are the kind of batteries I usually use, which is a 3.7, and it's a high voltage. And that is one thing you can actually use. And if your batteries usually have any kind of nick, and usually if it has a nick in the battery, it will explode if you're not careful. So one thing you'll definitely need to do is drip the cotton very, very carefully. And you don't usually want to super over drip it, because what it'll do is it actually, if you see those little holes, what those do is they're supposed to catch all the excess juice. And there are times that it will not catch all the excess juice. And so when you get the rebirth, you always want to drip your cotton and your coil really well, so that way your cotton will not go dry super fast. And you don't want to overstuff it with cotton, because there are times that if you do, it won't work for you. This is what a finished RDA rebirth looks like, and that's what the S-Priv looks like right now. So it usually asks if it's a new or old coil. I usually put new, and so that's what it looks like. And I will show you also what the Cleto 120 does. So that's what the inside of a Vuku drag looks like, and that's the 520 firing pin. And there are actually different firing pins in different mods. So if you have the S-Priv, it's got a 510 instead of a 520 firing pin. And a lot of times, if you have juice on your firing pin for your tank, it will not register on your tank. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to clean off the tank. That's what it looks like on the S-Priv with the Coil 120. So this is what it looks like when it hits. And that's what you do when you rebuild a Rebirth RDA.